live. Hey guys, this is Plasticon. I'm joined here with Headmaster Don.
Hey everybody.
And Sideburn may join us later. He's still out chasing little red cars. Um, but
I, I, fig- I figured he'd be at Walmart, chasing that color change tracks.
yeah, I really haven't seen that on the shelves anywhere. Have you?
I've seen the color shifters are apparently there are some that's part of the regular assortment. It looks like, but one store has them on a peg hook by itself, and they run about $4.97. So it looks like I don't know for sure because the price scanners were not working, so I don't know if it was on the wrong hook or whatever. But if it's out there, it's going to be um, it's going to be a hunt for it. Just with due to the sheer amount of Hot Wheels available on any given store.
Yeah. Especially with that whole new display that I know a lot of Walmarts have set up now, where they kind of have like some of the toys
Yeah,
actually displayed on top that are and I think that's cool. To me, that's a great way to advertise the stuff to get it like in people's hands so they can actually see what it looks like instead of just looking at it through a window or whatever. Um,
right.
I think it's interesting how they kind of hodgepodge it all together, especially throwing Mattel and Hasbro items on one kiosk is
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
weird.
I'm betting that for some reason they approached Mattel and Hasbro, or Mattel and Hasbro approached them, and they wound up. Maybe Hasbro and Mattel doesn't know the other one's part of it, but like, hey, we'll feature your products on a display in our prominent collector section if you'll go in on the fabrication costs or something like that. Because it wouldn't surprise me for them to say, tell that to Hasbro, tell that to Mattel. They said, yeah, we're going to feature your product, but they don't say anything about featuring the other persons on the other side.
Mhm.
Now, my local store, which is literally right behind me through the woods, the Supercenter, has that merchandise. They've got the retro carded Spider-Man J. Jonah Jameson, retro carded Rhino. They've got the Halloween Stormtrooper up from Black Series. They've got the Ghost Spider from the Marvel Legends series. So all that stuff we've seen at Walmart, the Walmart Collectorcons, including the canceled stuff, is showing up in these stores, but this Walmart doesn't have the fixture. They just carved out 12 feet of space and toys where the clearance row was and started putting the stuff there.
Hmm.
So, so if anyone's looking for that stuff, because I know a lot of people that I follow on Twitter and that follow me and on Blue Sky uh, had their X Leons canceled. They had their Sideways canceled. Some people had some of their Spider-Man 77 Marvel Legends from the live action series back in 77 got canceled, and then it showed up on the website at a higher price.
Mhm.
So, that this is just a prime example, no pun intended, of the collectors helping collectors find this stuff because too many people had canceled pre-orders. You go in, and that's happened with me at Target. I had two things on order at Target from Masters of the Universe. Granted, one of them was not because I wanted it, but it's because the picture was one thing, but the description was another, and it was reversed on the other figure. So I ordered both because I didn't know which one I was going to get, and I wound up getting the right one first, and then they canceled the other one because of lack of availability.
Mhm.
But it was a pre-order, so they oversold.
That's crazy. Like it's kind of been a nutsoid thing with this whole like trying to find the stuff online, trying to find it in the wild. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of that type of thing, our today's topic, we're going to be talking about kind of oddity stuff that is out there in the collection community, some weird stuff that me and Don have come across. Um, I'm sure stuff we never even knew even existed. until we actually saw it in person, or somebody showed us a picture or something like that, or we ran across it just browsing. Um, but just for an example, Generation 2 collectors out there, I know a lot of us, some of us try to chase down that really weird promo material stuff, things like that, that's very hard to get hold of.
Hmm.
And one thing, and I only have one of them, I do not have both of them, but I do happen to have one of the Generation 2 pins. And these were only given to specific stores and stuff like that during the actual
Oh,
promo stuff. And these are extremely hard to find. I
yeah.
can't
I've
seem
heard
to
about
find the
them, but
Autobot one, but I have the Decepticon one.
I've heard about those through the years, but I've never actually went to go look for one because it's like it's like when I was on another show with Proto Man.
Mm-hmm,
He would talk about his early proto Diaclone, the Diaclone, the early Transformer prototypes. And I love seeing this stuff, but promotional stuff like that, I've never really chased because it's like it's so hard to find and you're fighting so many people. It's like Brian over on RFC for several years. In St. Louis, they released those Transformer Happy Meal mini bots
mm-hmm,
only in the St. Louis area.
yep.
It took him over a decade to get a complete set. And that was him having to buy some duplicates in a lot to get the ones he didn't have.
Did he ever find the
That
display? Because I know some people ended up actually getting the display.
I don't know. I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to say yes or no for sure, but I think he did get the display. Or at least he got the display and didn't have the figures in it, but it had the backdrops and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he could put his loose figures in the display, if I'm remembering correctly, which I may not because old man brain.
We all
Um,
have that.
but so I mean, also I didn't collect them either. But when Built to Rule went into the Energon, that was only released around the Cincinnati uh, area, and finding some of those sets are extremely difficult because that was the test market.
Mm-hmm.
And but I am so glad you have one of those pins. It's just I'm borrowing a phrase from Bobby Skullface. The juice isn't worth the squeeze
Yeah.
for that for me because
And
there's other things I'd much rather. Yeah.
the funny thing is this particular pin was in a eBay lot of other pins, and I don't think the guy actually knew what he had. And I got the lot for like $10. I've looked for these pins now, and they're at least a couple $100 now. They're really hard to
Yeah.
find. Um,
Yeah.
and
That's one you never want to have to sell, but it is kind of comforting to know if you need money for something important, you've got something you can say, at least I know I can, it's a comforting thought. You don't want to, but you can if you have to.
right, and that's what I'm saying. Like some of these odd stuff. Another really strange, odd thing, and I literally think I'm the only one that actually has put any kind of documentation or anything about this. I did a video about it. Um, I took some photos, put it on Facebook and all that. But the Transformers Windsock. This is Blitzwing. This is brand new
I've
in package,
n-
never had been took out.
I have never seen that before.
I never knew it existed. The funny thing is me and my other half's parents were out perusing a Savers. We got this at Savers. It literally was just in a thrift store, and Noah did not pay a lot of money for it. The funny thing is some people try to ask me, well, what would you value that at? I'm like, I have no idea, because the only other Windsock stuff I've seen like this even documented was a Garfield one and a GI Joe one. I have never seen
Wow.
the Transformers one out there.
Yeah, that could be
This
like
is,
your one that could be your Wonder Bread He-Man or your Cookie Crisp Jazz or something.
and yeah, I mean, I love this thing. I've had some people come up to me I've had several people try to ask me if I wanted to sell it. I'm like, no. I mean, I really don't know what it's worth, first off.
Yeah,
And
that would
second,
be.
it's kind of special to me now.
Yeah.
You know, it's got some sentimental value behind it. So I think it's cool. Some people ask me, are you going to open it? No, I'm not going to open it. I'd
No.
like to,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, like how vibrant this thing is, too. It's
Wow.
like
After
it's
and
brand new.
well, what year is the copyright date? I'm guessing 85, 84,
I
85,
believe so. Yeah, 1985. It says right on the front of it.
85. Yeah, because that's about when Blisswing would have been showing up in stores or at least out for them to use the licensed material.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's made by Spectra Star Kites. So if you guys look up Spectra Star Kites, I have a He-Man kite that's the same company, but the windsock for Transformers, I have never seen anybody else have this. I even showed
Yeah,
this to Proto Man, and he had never seen it too. So
and that's
for me to have something that
and
Proto Man's never seen, that's saying something.
yeah, that is saying something. Yeah, because if it's something, because Proto Man's depth of knowledge about the prehistory of Transformers is absolutely insane. The early years,
Hmm.
and it's saying that is just it's nice to know that we can still be surprised by the things that we find.
Yes.
Um, one of the things I was looking for, and this was more of an absolute collision of serendipitous events, but two things actually I can bring up. Many years ago, uh, Brad, who you may remember from EFCon and BotCon, helped out with Captured Prey a lot.
Hmm.
He and I were at a BotCon. I don't remember which one, obviously. And there was a Dark Fire Convoy, the Lucky Draw Black Fire Convoy, RID 2001 Optimus Prime, the Lucky Draw there. They wanted $1,400 for it. He and I both wanted that for our collection, mainly because he loved Lucky Draw stuff, and I love Fire Convoy. Fire Convoy is my favorite non G1 Optimus. It's probably one of my favorite molds. I bought 3 HasLab Omega Primes. Bought 3 for that very reason. And we all weekend we nudged each other. It's still there. It's still there. It's still there. We neither one of us actually wound up buying it,
Hmm.
but for lucky draws, that Blackfire Convoy is technically the easiest to find because it was made in much higher numbers than 10,
Yeah.
like the matching Ultra Magnus was. I have no hope of finding that one. But about a year or two later, I got a coupon from eBay, 10% off any purchase up to $100. Okay, fine. I'll take a look and see. The very next day, a Black Fire Convoy for $900, complete new sealed, popped up on eBay.
Hmm.
I got it.
I was about to
I have
say
it. It's down.
it's
It's that.
sitting in your collection, isn't it?
It's sitting. It's open. It is open on display. Someone said you're an idiot to put on display. It's like something that pretty. It needs to be. It needs to be displayed. And just a fortuitous turn of events in that I had a coupon the day before. It pops up. It's right below the threshold, and I got uh, boxed, sealed, never played with. So I mean, there was that. A few years ago, I had another eBay coupon, and I had been looking for the 7-Eleven MP10 Optimus.
Hmm.
That was because 7-Eleven in Japan is a very very different creature than 7-Eleven over here.
Yeah.
They will get a lot of exclusive stuff made for them, and one of them was an MP10 Optimus and done up in the 7-Eleven colors. One was on eBay. After the coupon, after some other Donanomics on the side,
Hmm.
It was a $400 figure on average. Got it for 170.
Jeez.
But I mean, it took a lot over 2 days to get stuff to line up, but it's that's why we hunt for that thing. It's like I will never find that for this price again. Um, Something I have downstairs. Well, it's in storage. I need to find it out. You were
Hmm.
talking G2 earlier. That reminded me of something that I found. Um, I was at a Toys R Us. Uh, I used to work when I worked for Service Merchandise. I worked beside of a Toys R Us, and I walked in one day. They had the Ultra Magnus and Superion G2 watches.
Oh, nice.
I believe it was the Ultra Magnus and the Superion. I I should still have them in my storage building. There was some other things that, but yeah, I just walked in and there was in the watch section. They weren't with the Transformers. They was in the watch section,
Hmm.
and they had I believe it's the Ultra Magnus and the Superion.
Right.
And those watches nowadays are absolutely, you don't find them. And if you do, it's like Auto Scepter, the mail away watch.
Hmm.
I got one of those. His name, I remember his first name was Kendrick. He was at the all the early bot cons, and I have been looking for an Auto Scepter that watch. No, sorry, Time Warrior.
Yeah,
That was the
Time Warrior. Yeah.
Time Warrior watch. Auto Scepter was one of the other one of the licensed watches. That was the car.
Mhm.
Time Warrior. I've been looking for one for, at that point it had been 3 or 4 years. At that point, I traded a set of my VH copies of Master Force to him for that watch, and I still have that watch. I still have that watch.
That thing is so
So,
hard to get hold of.
oh God, it's impossible. I have got it packed up very carefully, but I'm afraid when I go to pull it out of storage, what that band is going to look like after all this time. So
Yeah.
because my Diatlas's wheels have crumbled. Um, the treads are gone on my original Star Convoy. The treads are gone, so I
Mhm.
don't know. But that's, looking back, finding that was just absolutely just a crazy thing.
Yeah. Like with the G2 watches, they made those two. They made the one that pretty much turned into
They,
the little Takara robot, that kind of generic
yeah,
dude. I know they
right. And then the
did.
G2 Megatron had a watch.
Megatron had a G2 watch. It was the one was the tank, and then there was also Galvatron. They did that on the G2 packaging as well.
Yeah,
Um, and I want to say
yeah,
the
but that didn't
Spider
that didn't
one
ha-
was done that way too. I think it was like a total like
yeah,
six or something.
yeah, yeah. And some of them did not get a very wide release. Um, you were talking about things that we just stumbled across, or things I knew they existed for the deluxe Decepticons,
Uh-huh.
but my local Roses, which is and was a southern based, one of the biggest southern based chains before Walmart became a thing.
Uh-huh.
Uh, they had three of the four deluxe Insecticons: Barrage, Ransack, and Venom. I picked those up. They never had a chop shop. I literally never saw them anywhere else until about 6 or 7 years later. I'm talking to someone I know at a flea market.
Uh-huh.
He says, "Yeah, you ought to go check out this antique store, down here, a couple miles down the road. They got a bunch of toys, and I think they had a bunch of Transformers." He was a ball card guy,
Yeah.
but he knew about all the stuff that was popular. He didn't. He was looking for ball cards. He wasn't looking for Transformers. He saw a table full of Transformers. So I drive down there after I leave the show. They have tables. They have an entire table of Godiken, the early '80s Godiken when it was brought over.
Yeah.
I did not know that at the time. If I had known what it would become, again, if I knew then what I know now.
Uh-huh.
But I'm looking through all these Transformers, and they've got blaster in the box. All the stuff. It's a lot of the stuff that you can find on the stores, and then I pull out a boxed Chop Shop,
Uh-huh.
$20
Steel.
for a boxed Chop Shop.
Yep.
And I was not expecting to find the last one I needed to complete the set, but those deluxe Insecticons in the box, they were so hard to find in my area, and I only saw them at one store.
Uh-huh. I mean, they're tough to find nowadays in box. I rarely ever see them in box. The comic shop that I work at every now and then, they had all four of them, but they came from a previous employee decided to sell off his collection. He had all four. He sold them, but the guy who came in and bought them was getting them for a toy museum. So he wanted an example that was loose to go next to
Yeah,
the boxed
the
ones.
box ones.
So he
Wow.
bought a full set of those to go with it. I know how hard it is to find those because the blue plastic on I believe it's Barrage, the Beetle,
Uh,
because I think it's blue
let's see.
plastic on him, right? Or is it green?
Uh, let's see.
It's the Beetle.
Ransack is the grasshopper.
Yeah.
Ransack is the grasshopper. Venom is, but I don't remember any blue plastic on him.
Oh, I'm probably thinking the non-Transformers released one because he was
Yeah,
released in a different line in blue.
right.
Um.
Yeah, he was the deluxe Insecticons were some of those borrowed figures like Roadbuster and Whirl,
Mhm.
and some of that early when they were getting anything they could to fill out the line.
Right. They're
Yeah. So yeah, I've heard
Bandai.
about the yeah. Yeah, it's weird. There are Bandai figures because Bandai bought these companies after those companies sold the rights to Hasbro. So there are technically Bandai toys retroactively in a Takara connected product, which
Well,
will
it's
blow
kind of
your mind.
funny because if you think about that, Roadbuster, Whirl, those selected, those Insecticons never got a toy commercial. They weren't in the cartoon,
No,
so nobody even knew they even existed. They were
yeah.
just kind of
The
thrown in
only
there, you know.
yeah the only one of those borrowed figures was the Jetfire that got the commercial
Hmm.
because again it was a Bandai property, but it was that one Veritech mold and that design. The license was held by another company, and Hasbro went to them to get the license. That's why they had to dub it from Jetfire to Skyfire.
Right,
Was that whole because of the and also why his animation model does not match the toy
right.
because of the whole Robotech connection.
Uh-huh.
Now there's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
Yeah, that's a crazy rabbit hole. But I mean, just in general, I was sitting there thinking of just things we bought when we were kids that you never saw like commercials for, things that you
Yeah,
ran across. Like when I was doing my whole deep dive into trying to get hold of all the Generation 2 stuff, I still have some G2 stuff I haven't gotten, but I didn't even know they even made this. I didn't even know this was actually really connected because in some ways it looks kind of like a knockoff, but it's not. This is a Transformers annual from the UK.
oh yes,
This is a
because I remember.
Grandrooms style. And
Yeah,
honestly, I know some people hate on this art. I love this art. This art
who
is
who,
so
who
out
who
there
was the art?
compared.
Oh, Yeniger, was that Yeniger
I
or
believe so, but I mean the artwork is so different compared to what you
yeah,
would normally get. And it was
yeah,
just kind
and
of funny and blocky, and I love that.
yeah, when I see that border, I think of the Marvel 25th anniversary when it was right around when the Stunticons came out in the comic in Marvel G1.
Mhm.
Marvel was doing their 25th anniversary, and they had that same kind of wraparound cover along the edge.
Yeah, I mean, I can clearly tell where they got the wraparound because it looks like the G2 cartoon.
Yeah,
As you
yeah, the
think about it,
Cybernet
it's got
Space
that
Cube.
the space cube thing, and
Yeah,
it's really crazy how this was. what they were doing before Marvel actually got a hold of, changing things over, because the first two issues in the UK, the artwork is completely different. It's absolutely different, whole different story. Like that story ties into the continued one, but it's a story that you don't hear anything about because they have the what's called the G2 Stormtroopers are actually in
Hmm.
those comics. You don't see them anywhere else.
Yeah,
Um, but most people don't even know this stuff even existed because, in the early days, you know how it was. It was going, before the internet,
yeah.
everything was more or
I
less
mean,
word of mouth. And then when
yeah,
the
word of
internet came
mouth,
around, you saw these weird pictures of stuff you thought may have been a knockoff or whatever it was, you
right?
know.
Because I mean, having been around before, it's hard for younger collectors. They know it that the internet's not always been around, but it's hard for them to imagine living without the internet. I explained to a person that I used to work with, and she could not comprehend buying a Sunday paper, getting the print ads, seeing what the grocery stores had on sale, what the coupons were in there, and cutting coupons and going to grocery stores. She literally could not understand the kind of life that I had to live before the internet.
Hmm.
And even in those early days, you had tow marts, you had Lee's Action Figure and Toy Review, you had a toy list book that just in newsprint style that everybody listed toys by category for sale, and that's how you got your information. I've said it before. If John and Carl and Tony Prito had not responded to my questions that I sent in to Lee's Action Figure News and Toy Review, I would have never found out about BotCon when it started in '94.
Yeah.
So again, that's how we found out stuff. We used print media, and then eventually, when the internet started, you had Alt Toys Transformers. That was an absolute. That opened up an entire world of people all over the world talking about, hey, I've got the I live in England and we've got these Transformers, and it's like I must own them because I didn't know about the Tracons, the Light Formers, the Turbo Masters.
Hmm.
I didn't know about Pyro, Clinch, and all that kind of stuff. I didn't even know until my one of my local Kmart at the time had because Kmart had the Pretender Bumblebee, the Pretender classic Pretender Inner Robots as
Hmm.
carded figures. And I was trading with a guy in Japan for copies of Headmasters, Master Force, and Victory on VHS. I would send him a Bumblebee, and a couple of months later, I would get 2 or 3 tapes of Headmasters, Master Force, and Victory. And and in Japan, they ran commercials for their toys in the same show as the cartoon. They didn't have that stipulation that we had.
Hmm.
And I see all this stuff that I did not know existed. I learned about Overlord, Buster, Hydra, Diatlas, Sonic Bomber, Road Caesar, all that stuff.
Hmm.
And I never knew existed until I wound up. I think what it was is I had bought something from him through Lee's. He had an ad in Lee's, I believe, selling Japanese Transformers, right to this address. And I wrote to him, and then he asked me, "Well, I'm looking for these." I said, "Yeah, my Kmart's got a ton of these." Again, if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I know now.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's how you stumble across this stuff. Sometimes it's hard work.
Yep.
Sometimes it's absolute luck.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you will never run into that kind of stuff.
I mean, KB Toy Store is probably where a lot of us were introduced to certain lines like Machine Wars, nowhere but KB.
It
Orange
was a KB exclusive.
Devastator, KB. there were no commercials for this stuff. There was no
Yeah.
any type of anything. And
Yeah.
personally, I think
Yeah.
these are some of the best, in my opinion, some of the best toys out of the 90s came out of KB as weird, exclusive, strange things that we didn't see anywhere else.
You wanna know what? I
So,
worked for KB in the 90s. I worked for K&K Toys, and I worked for KB Toys.
mm-hmm.
And I was there when Machine Wars hit. I
And you
was
took
there.
home a case, right?
Yeah, I kind of lost my job because of it, but I basically I got them from the back because I thought that would be okay
Mm-hmm.
because I was off work and I went back to get a set for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to bother anybody, and apparently you can't do that. And
No.
I didn't. I was trying to be helpful, but I went to the back. I shopped out of the back. You weren't allowed to do that, so I did not. I kept the
Oh.
figures, but I did not keep my job,
So,
unfortunately.
so, so Machine Wars kind of ended your toy career
Yeah, Machine
there.
Wars. Yeah, yeah. I didn't want it to because I've never had a job I enjoyed more that I made no money at.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, and the good thing about KB and K Toys, that's where you went to get the last wave of a lot of lines that never made it to the stores.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you got your late GoBots like Man of War, Treads, Mr. Moto, all that. That's where you got your Rock Lords, your Jewel Lords
Mm-hmm.
that never made it to mass retail. Um, I picked up a couple of late Exo Squad E frames that didn't really make it out to mass retail. So again, in back in the day, if you knew where to look, but we didn't know any of this stuff. We just
No.
knew that this we knew that KB was a place where a lot of old stuff that didn't sell well went to.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't till later with the internet we learned this was stuff that was going to be mass produced, that was done, but was not picked up by the big box retailers. So you could go into KB every day, every once a week, and you would see something that you had not seen before, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the GoBots were $1.97. $1.97 for GoBots. Again, if I could go back in time, I would go to a KB that I did not shop at,
Mm-hmm.
and I would buy everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I could understand that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like you were saying. One thing I remember back when I was collecting just toys in general in high school, I bought a toy guide, and it was for Star
Oh,
Wars and Star Trek at the time because I was collecting Star Wars
was
at the
that
time.
was that the Tomart one to the guide to Star Wars figures? Because they had several of those guides out at the time.
Maybe. I can't remember
Yeah,
exactly which one it was, but I do know that it had some color pictures and everything else, and it was in black and white. It had like estimated
yeah,
price. But the thing is, that's how I learned about certain things that I didn't even know existed. Like growing up, getting to see Return of the Jedi in theaters, stuff like that when it first came out was cool. But I had no idea that they had a riding land speeder that you could ride. I had no idea that they built a scout fortress thing that had a swing set attached to it until I saw those in that book. I was like, what are these? You know, like some of the weirdest stuff. And even seeing like prototype pictures of the blockade runner that was never released was nuts. Seeing that in a book. Like to me, if something's in a book, it's kind of almost set in stone kind of thing because somebody's went to a lot of effort to have that put in print. Because back then, printing was not exactly cheap, but it also wasn't something that people took lightly, you know.
right.
And when you go back through now and you look at a lot of these old toy guides, there is some amazing stuff in some of these books that I don't even know is even documented online yet. Some of it is, some of it isn't. But this stuff is what really blows my mind. Like you were talking about, like the Master Force stuff and all that. I didn't know a whole lot about that stuff until about the mid 2000s because getting on toy forums and stuff like that. And I was in the military and I was bored and I was just like checking stuff out and I ended up finding a lot of this stuff. I was like, holy cow. That's how I ended up getting all the like the series and stuff like that. When I got out of the service, I was like, I made a beeline for the bootleg guy that had them at a con and I bought all of them, because they didn't really do like official releases. And then Shout Factory later on came out with theirs. But
Yeah.
this is right,
Well,
this is
I
before
want,
that.
yeah, I want to give a shout out. We both know David.
Hmm.
He was my knockoff hookup for some of the greatest KOs. So I'm will publicly thank David right now because they were some of the most incredible knockoffs. Some of them have not lasted, unfortunately, but that's the nature of knockoffs.
Hmm.
But he had some of the most insane, like the knockoff Lio Kaiser, but with like technobots instead of it was just this. It's weird. I mean, you could probably do a whole thing on knockoffs by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I know we had touched base with knockoffs a couple times. We've had a couple casts, and I know you hadn't been here for them. But the thing is, it is insane, some of the stuff out there. Like, a friend of mine sent me a really nice care package recently, and he sent me, and this gets into Brave territory for you guys, the Takara Brave stuff. I didn't even know these even existed, but I have both full sets of I cannot remember the name of these for the life of me, but it's the
Gal
force
Gar,
the Galgai Gar. I
Chor-
know that.
Choryu, and Inryu.
Yeah, I have both sets that are tiny. These are not the
Yeah.
huge ones. The original ones are like 3 times bigger
Oh
than
yeah,
this.
yeah. The DX ones are absolutely huge.
And these things do everything the original does. The Sima Mixer launches missiles, and I'm like, these are amazing. And I didn't even know these are knockoffs. I know they are, but they're in Hot Wheel size. And I'm like, this is great. This is perfect. Like, I have always loved undersized stuff and not knowing that these even existed. Like, it's crazy. Like, people blow my mind sometimes with some of the stuff that I've never seen before. And finding this stuff is just like you said, it's like a whole different level. Like the G2 Tiger handheld game. Never once knew it existed. I knew
Yeah.
the handheld games existed. We had Tiger. Those things were like Pogs back in the day. We were trading them back and forth.
Oh yeah.
I never knew there was a G2 game. And then about, I want to say about 15 years ago or so, I found out about it. And then I kept scouring eBay and found it for like hundreds of dollars and all this. And I was like, that's something I'm probably never going to get my hands on. And then lo and behold, Hasbro decides to do reissue Tiger electronic
Yeah.
games, and they picked
Yeah,
the G2 one out of all of them.
yeah.
You bet your sweet ass I bought one. And I played the crap out of that thing. And yes, it's kind of beat up now, and I don't care because I love that thing. That's something that we didn't even know existed. Like, it's stuff like that, the weird, strange, way out there thing that we never even knew had. Where the hell did this even come from? Kind of thing, like where was the
Yeah.
advertising? Who was this marketed toward? Like, was this in Radio Shack back in the day or something? I don't know. You know, I mean, I never saw them on the shelves anywhere when I was a kid with all the G2 stuff. And I don't know if you ever see it in the wild ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
I
at?
I didn't. The original one, right? Not the
The
reissue.
original, like on the shelves, like back when it was first
It
released, I guess.
might it might have been at a Best or Brindle's. And for those of you who don't ever heard of them, they've been out of business for well over a decade, maybe 2 decades at this point. But they were catalog shopping show places like Service Merchandise where a lot of the stuff was not on the shelf. You would take a clipboard and a pencil, you would walk around,
Hmm.
you would write down a code, give the code to a cashier, and they would send it up on a conveyor belt. Now, a lot of the stuff like the toys, those were out on shelves and stuff. But
Right.
it was probably at a Best or Brindle's when I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. I find it crazy that there are certain toys and certain things, just like the Transformers lamp, from G1. I saw that in catalogs, but never saw one in real life,
Oh yeah,
you know? And it's stuff like that. And there was like unproduced stuff in catalogs back then that was advertised but never made.
yeah.
And I'm just like,
Or or if it was made, it did not look anything like the prototype.
mm-hmm,
For example, God Bomber. I bought God Bomber from Tony Prito, Tempting Toys and Collectibles, back in the day, based on a catalog the gentleman from Japan sent me with my Star Saber that I bought from him
mm-hmm,
for like $75 for a box Star Saber. Because back then, that stuff was still everywhere.
yeah.
And so I bought it based on the catalog. And then I get God Bomber, and I open it up. So I called him. And I actually talked to Tony Prito, and I said, "Mr. Prito, I just bought this from your store. Why does it not look like? Did I get the wrong thing?" He said, "No, no. The prototype in the catalog was never made. This is what they came out with." I said, "They don't even look anything close." He said, "Yeah, that's the problem. That's why they're, so cheap right now. Because again, they were everywhere."
Mm-hmm.
But
And I've seen,
yeah,
there's a guy, I've looked it up on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name. It's all in Japanese, but he actually went through, did it with a 3D printer and actually made a functioning prototype version of that actually will combine with Power Master Prime.
yeah.
And
Well, the
I'm just
new
like, that is amazing. Like, come on, dude, sell this to at least a third party or something like that. Let them make this.
Yeah. The new upcoming God Bomber that goes with the masterpiece God Genrai. There is a limited edition version that includes those pieces to make it look as close as possible to that prototype.
That's pretty crazy. So we were
Yeah.
joined by a wild sideburn.
Yep, I've gained responsibility of a whole flock of chickens and two more dogs.
Oh, yay. The farm
Yeah,
keeps growing.
my parents are out of town. And yeah, I had to on top of the nighttime routine of my dog and my ducks, I had to go, and my lizards and stuff. I had to go over to their house and let their dogs out and put their chickens away. So
That's usually how it goes. But
chickens mostly put themselves away at least,
yeah.
but she's got some young ones that she's raising up because her old hens have stopped laying eggs,
Uh-huh.
and they're still a little rambunctious. So every now and then they'll get closed outside of the automatic doors. So you gotta go make sure that they actually go inside.
Chickens are more like squirrels. They go everywhere, but your ducks, they stay in a row.
Mm-hmm.
What is
They
up
do.
with this? But yeah, we're talking about just rarity items that we never knew existed and how we found out some stuff. Do you have anything in particular you could think of that you never knew existed that either you bought or maybe you didn't buy it or whatever? Any
Yeah,
kind
well,
of
actually,
examples
hold
you
on.
have? Okay, so he's going to go grab one apparently. But yeah, these are like the craziest stuff. Like I don't know what it is with some of these kind of like finds of how we didn't know it didn't exist unless it was thrown in an encyclopedia. I'm waiting on somebody literally to release like an encyclopedia of like toy lines that it's just weird, strange stuff that we didn't even know about. But go ahead, Cyber, since you're back.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned these before, and these aren't like ultra rare, but I remember when I saw these at BotCon 2016. It was the first time I'd ever seen them, and I bought them.
That was a good BotCon to find them at because it was the last one.
Yeah, and that was these things, and they came with Lyle Jr.
What are they puzzles?
They're puzzles, yeah. So it's puzzles.
Oh.
There was these two, and then there's the Rat Trap one. I think is fairly well known, much more than I think the two Lyle Juniors. I had never known about the Lyle Juniors. I knew about the Rat Trap because there's that orange and white Rat Trap, like orange sickle Rat Trap.
Oh yeah,
but and that one's also a puzzle. But I never knew about these. And I remember walking by. It was that one that Japanese guy that had like showed up to every BotCon, right? He'd bring so much weird stuff and cool stuff. But he had them, just sitting out there, and I was like, "Holy crap, what are those?" And so I bought them, and yeah, they're not the weirdest thing, but the Lyle, you have a Lyle Junior that's like in Lyle Convoy's colors, and then you have like a black and red Lyle Junior. But yeah, you gotta. I've opened it because I have my Lyle Juniors on display. But bag of puzzle pieces, and then I find this very interesting. I still have the original glue packet, so it's made to put the puzzle together and then glue it down to like frame it or something or to display it.
That kind of makes me wonder, is that like a common thing over there in Japan that they would actually sell glue packets that we can actually make it real art to put on the wall instead of it just being a take apart thing? Like here in the States, that's not something that you normally did with.
Yeah, I mean, I know of people who do glue puzzles, but yeah, I feel like it's a more normal thing. I don't know if it's, these are the only. Actually, I probably own some more puzzles from Japan somewhere. Because I've gotten some just like randomly in like those like subscription boxes, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny when I opened those up and saw the like glue. I have like 20-year-old glue bags.
Wonder if it's still any good.
I mean, they still
really dry out unless it's like exposed to the air. I mean, is it still squishy?
It's still squishy. I mean, it feels pretty thick, but it's still squishy. So I don't see why you couldn't. It might be like spreading like molasses over it now, but
you'd have to like mix it up like you do for like Bondo or whatever. You're trying to fix a car or something like that. You have to mix it all together real good before you can use it. Hang it on.
But yeah, these were kind of my weird ones. Especially, I find it funny that Lyle Jr. came with like a Metals poster. This one makes sense. It's from the movie. I think I mentioned last week Majin Zarak. I don't know how many people are familiar with him, but he was like a battleship. But yeah, and then there was other things like I've always been on the lookout for like I didn't know about the egg. Like the egg beasts for a long time. Those are pretty rare for the Japanese Beast Wars. It's always the weird, like little tchotchke kind of things that are always the oddest discoveries you'll ever make. Like I feel at some point some of the weird stuff we got, like the Pen Optimus and the iPod Soundwave, and I have the PlayStation and Mega Drive Optimus and Megatron over there. I feel like that stuff will become potential oddities, but that era where things weren't persistently on the internet, and that we had to rediscover them. Like someone would say, "Hey, I remember. Do you guys remember this thing? Am I the only one that remembers this thing?" Because if you think about it, you walk into a dollar store sometimes and you find something weird. It's like I didn't even know they were producing this in this Transformers labeled thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like I didn't even know that this existed, and that's been happening since the start of the franchise. I was listening a little earlier, and I saw like your kite.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how much of that weird stuff is just not is forgotten.
Well,
And
I mean,
there's a few guys out there who remember it, and a few guys who haven't. And then it's like if we uncovered that stuff, it'd be a treasure.
well, that's the thing. Like, I was blown away by it. I've shown it to like several people, and there's really no value for it because, and that's the really strange thing about items like this kite. There's no real documented value for something that doesn't really have any documentation. You know?
And it existed to, yeah, and that's another thing is sometimes there's just like test market stuff.
Mhm.
So you don't even know if if you live in an area that's under a test market, and you might be seeing like weird things that no one else has ever heard of. And back then, you couldn't go on the internet and say, "Hey, have you guys seen this?"
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a while ago the St. Louis Happy Meal toys that Brian has been collecting for the past decade, or the Energon built to rule that was only in the Cincinnati markets.
Well, there's also the G2 bomber Megatron and Starscream, where it was the
Yes.
Dreadwing, but it's done in black, and that was later redone slightly for BB and Starscream out of Beast Wars 2.
Hmm.
Um, it's literally the same toy, except it doesn't have glow in the dark missiles, and some of the gray is not silver. It's it's just kind of a swap over. Stickers are a little different. It's literally the same toy though. But that was also a test market that actually got into people's hands, but very, very, very limited run. Um, it's just stuff like that that really just blows my mind that some of the stuff didn't just take off. Like we talk about, stuff like G2 Night Racer, which was like a BotCon exclusive thing, or maybe like G2 Breakdown that was actually really produced for people to buy an exclusive. But finding this stuff in the wild at a store, like we were talking about, like KB, that had something that wasn't in the interest of the masses and just got kind of thrown in like a clearance store or whatever, that's nuts. And then this stuff becomes even rarer because only a handful of people buy it. You know?
Because we used to, I mean, like, because even I'm young enough to remember when you really just you knew about things because of some sort of pack-in catalog or a Sears catalog you got once a year, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's how
um,
Don was talking about Time Warrior, which was the mail away, and all the Omnibots mail away from G1. I don't, to be honest, I'm trying to remember. We got points for G2, but I don't remember anything we actually had to mail off for that. Do you remember anything done with that, Don? Like, what did we mail off robot points for
Well,
Generation
most
2? I don't remember anything really for that. Because I thought there was
the
a cross
last
promo thing, but I don't remember what it was for.
yeah, no, I don't remember any mail-ins. The last thing I remember was well, GI Joe had a G2 ish same era mail away when G4 They're Still a Great Trooper,
Yeah.
which I think was early '90s. Transformers, the last mail away I remember, it was the prizes in disguise that you could get the posters, and the glow in the dark posters had something you could send in, but I don't remember what it was for.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. It's been too many years. But the last thing I recall sending in for was the Omnibots. That's
Yeah.
the last thing I remember sending in for was the Omnibots in 84, 85. There was the G.I. Joe one,
Right.
but I don't remember anything for G2 that was a mail away.
Yeah, because I think it was strange because you had robot points, but what were they for? That was the question.
Yeah.
You know, um, I myself, even being the G2 guy, don't even really know that. I'm gonna have to really start digging down this
Yeah, and it
rabbit
might
hole.
have just been like best laid plans, right? Like they might have thought they would do something with it, and then it just never materialized, right?
It's kind of like I remember them talking about it. It's been rumors that there was a robot that you were able to think mail away for called SolarBot, and from what I've gathered, I think SolarBot basically was what the G2 Jazz did not get released as, that weird orange and red thing that we finally got as the prototype that was finally released in, what was it, Legacy recently. Um, because there's only pictures of that in the actual, like, the Legacy guidebook has it. There's been pictures of it floating around the internet, but I believe that was going to be SolarBot, I thought, but I don't know. There was never really any like definitive thing saying what SolarBot really was going to be, but I know that's probably one thing that I remember reading something very vaguely about. But yeah, I didn't know that there was that one. Um, they also were going to recolor. You remember the G2 Ironhide, the powered. They called them powered masters, but they were like the pullback
Yeah,
cars.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Ironhide, they were going to release it in yellow and blue, and it was going to be named Pothole. That didn't ever make it either. But I don't know, which is funny. I think that's a hilarious name. Um, but I don't know if that one would have been a mail away either. But that sounds like it would have been more or less for the European market because those never made it to the States. Those were European only. I didn't even know those existed until looking online too. You know, there's just so many different things that we just haven't seen. You know, like d- did you even know Grand? Like when did you find out Grand Maximus even existed, Don?
BotCon 94.
But that was how many years after it was actually released? You know,
8, because I bought the only Fortress Maximus I ever saw in stores at my local Toys R Us. I went there one day. Uh, it was a Sunday. I'm going to get old man tell story real quick.
that's okay.
Um, when my parents retired, we did flea markets, antiques, collectibles. I did toys, stuff like that. So we had got done setting up at the flea market. I went to the Toys R Us. At that time, nothing opened until 1 o'clock because of what was called blue laws. So I sat in my car, did my homework for school, went into Toys R Us. They had a Fortress Maximus on the shelf. It was the only one they had. It was $99.99. I had been saving up, and I had $79 in change at the house. I asked the lady. I said, "Ma'am, can you hold this for me? I am going to go home and get my money and come back and get it." She was unsure. I said, "Ma'am, I am coming back to get this. I've been saving up for this because the Christmas before, my folks got me Scorponok."
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm 16 years old at this point, so I mean, or maybe 17. So, but there's that. So I drive home, about 30-minute drive each way, grab my money, count it out. I'm $20 short. I asked mom if I can borrow $20 to put me over the top. She said, "Yeah." Drove back, picked it up. So that would have been 87 or 88. So probably 7 years. It took me 7 years to find out that Grand Max even existed.
Yeah.
Then I bought it.
So, a question for Sideburn. When did you find out that Beast Wars Neo was even a thing?
When did I mean, it was probably not long after, um, probably not long after it was really, it had to have been maybe like 2000, 2001. I'm trying to remember when I really, because we had internet in our house, when I was a kid, definitely before, but it was AOL, and AOL was, that was it was weird times. You mostly got on that to go on chat rooms,
Uh-huh.
right? So I'm trying to think when I really discovered, because I just, I would say a big part of anyone's, sort of time in the fandom back then had to have been things like Unicron.com.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that takes me back.
Yeah. So, and I remember Unicron.com and just clicking on every year that was on Unicron.com and going through all these things I'd never seen before. G1 was a faint memory to me. Like I had some memories of one of my earliest Transformers memories is the scene where Motormaster knocks Optimus Prime off the cliff
Mm-hmm.
and he's like rolling in truck mode or something like that. That's like my earliest memory of Transformers. And
That's
then the
key.
next
That's key to Vector Sigma, I believe.
yeah, and then the next one is some G2 commercial. Like the really jank CGI commercials from G2. And it was
Those
like
were awesome at the
I
time.
love
yeah,
that
I think it
game.
was
Still do.
I think it was like the gimmicky ones, yeah, because I think it was like one of the like IndyCar type guys,
Oh, the water
and
changing gimmick.
yeah, and then it had I think it had like the shooting rotor blades or something like that on the
Rotor-
Decepticon in the
Force.
commercial or
Yeah,
something like
Rotor
that.
Force.
So I remember like that stuff, but I remember just browsing Unicron.com and by that point Beast Wars, the Japanese Beast Wars stuff was on Unicron.com. So, but that was probably around like 2000, 2001 when I was sort of getting my online presence. Because that's also when I learned that you could collect Transformers.
Mhm.
I found the old Pro Boards message boards and stuff like that. I found an old message board that actually um, this is where I like met. You guys remember Duron? I met Duron there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just how I got into Transformers. I learned you can collect Transformers. I started collecting them, but yeah, it was probably around then. It was like the very early, like turn of the century, sort of that era.
Yeah.
So it was, like maybe 3 or 4 years after they aired, but not much longer after.
Yeah, like one thing I can remember, this has been, I'd say about 3, 4 years ago. I didn't even know this even existed. It's been that short a time. Because during the 80s you had sticker books. And you had the collecting cards that had all the sticker books. You did the albums for Transformers. I had Voltron. That's what I had.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't know there was a Generation 2 one. Apparently, I think in Pakistan they did that. They did the Generation 2, like they had that and it has stickers and everything. And I have been like looking everywhere for that set ever since I found out that it even existed. That's probably on my grail list now at this point because I know it's so hard to get hold of. And anytime I see them on eBay, I'm just like, oh, I want to get those. But with what's going on now in the world, I don't want to risk getting anything shipped from over there now.
Yeah.
My
Unfortunately, that's probably.
I think all my grails at this point are like lucky draws.
Is there anything like that you're still looking for, Don? Just anything crazy that's way out there that you don't know if you'll ever find it?
The matching Lucky Draw Ultra Magnus to my Blackfire Convoy. That there was only 10 made.
Hmm.
So yeah, that would be. It's one. I've resigned not to ever have that because even if I do find one, it's going to be so astron. It's like I mentioned to Brian on several occasions. I don't have a Minerva. I do not have a G1 Minerva. But at this point, finding one even loose and complete would be $2,000 to $3,000, and that white plastic is a ticking time bomb for the degradation. Even yeah, I've got stuff. Even my Grand Maximus, I kept in dark rooms with blinds closed, and it's just simply the chemicals were not meant to last 30, 40 years at this point.
Yeah.
So I could not pay for some of this stuff that I don't have. Even if like someone said, here's $10,000, go buy you a box Minerva. Okay, I might buy a box Minerva. But it'd be like, how long is this going to last before internally it completely just turns yellow?
Right. I mean,
So there's
I myself knew I wouldn't be able to get a hold of maybe that one or Ghost Shooter because those two are extremely hard to get. Um,
yeah. I
I
mean
ended up
the
finding the knockoffs, and they were nice fill-ins.
yeah. The only thing I'm really looking for at this point that I can think of sitting here is probably Battle Gaia, because being the Bruticus fan that I am, Bruticus is my favorite American combiner. Lau Kaiser is my favorite, overseas combiner. But I'm a Bruticus fanboy. I love his premiere episode. I love his look. He's a big beefy idiot, and I love him.
Hmm.
But Battle Gaia is one of those that if I see it, I will have to either cancel a ton of pre-orders or Dononomics out my butt to justify it.
Yeah.
And I don't expect to see that. I would love for one of these third party companies like Mastermind Creations. They're currently doing at the TF cons. They're doing the Autogus version from Robots in Disguise or Car Robots.
Hmm.
But there's no third party company has actually done the Battle Gaia version, because my guess is the Baldigus version is better known, so they would get more sales from those molds.
Right.
I'm hoping with the Mastermind Creations, with this being the third full use, because they got the G1, G2, and now they're doing the Baldigus version. So I'm hoping that they'll do a Battle Gaia, but an original Return of Convoy Battle Gaia. That's going to be absolutely insane
Oh yeah.
if I ever see one.
I've seen knockoffs of it every now and then, and those even go for a crazy amount of money. The same thing with the Ghost Shooter Minerva KO ones. Those are even hard to find, and if you do find them, they still go for a lot. Um,
Yeah,
it's because people get them as a placeholder because they know they can't. They're not going to probably find the original, even in half as good condition as the KO. And some people get it
yeah,
just to get the parts to put onto the original one to try to finish it because it's so hard to find the parts for some of these. Um, and I personally am just one of these kind of guys. I'm just like, some of these like toy iterations, it's like talking about you're talking about like recolors and stuff. I'm sitting there thinking, well, for really, really strange ones that are out there, I doubt we'll ever see a Gaia Guardian either. Like from any of these newer versions of anything that's coming out. Like they're going to do Bruticus, but they're not going to touch Battle Gaia with that.
hmm
If they do a new Defensor, which is going to be inevitable,
yeah. Oh, I
we
mean,
won't
I
get
do want to get.
Guard City out of that at all.
Yeah, I do want to get their G2, their Defensor in G2 colors to go with Bruticus.
Yeah.
But again, that would be a whole again with the current situation, because I need I need the Magic Square Blast Off to complete that set of Combaticons.
Hmm.
I'm very worried about being able to get it
Yeah.
at this point. So,
I mean, I think
but
that's
we
the
were
big thing that's setting a lot of us off. I mean, like they're just now doing this fan vote thing for the Shockwave. Was supposed to be a sea creature. I vote Taco Tank. Make him a freaking squid.
and he's still a tank. So there's
There you
that.
go.
Oh, you were talking about oddities that I didn't know existed. I did think of two more if I can bring those up real quick.
Okay, go for it.
I got very lucky. I was at a BotCon and I found these for $25 a piece. The Master Force roleplay bracelets for Cab and Shuta.
I forgot about those till you just mentioned them. I remember seeing those
Yep.
on eBay maybe twice.
Yeah, I have. If I thought about it until before right now, I would have brought them up from because I know where they're at
They're just
downstairs.
little plastic rings.
Yeah, they're just
on a
plastic
card.
on a card. And I don't know if y'all remember Andrew Hydra.
Mhm.
And I asked him about that because he was living in Japan. He came over and I asked him, I said, after I bought him, I said, did they ever make Minerva? And he said, probably not because, again, she's the girl and the boys aren't going to run around with girl toys and play with them. I said, well, can you check? And he a couple months he got back with me. He said, unless they were knocked off and made somewhere like Indonesia, he never saw any proof of there being a Minerva set. But I have those two Cap and Shooter. No, I'm sorry. No, Jinrai and Shooter. Jinrai and Shooter. Because Jinrai's is gold. And so, no, it was Cab and Minerva that apparently was not made. So, but yeah, that was like, I didn't know what they were. It's like, they're $25 a piece, though. But they're Master Force. And they're cool.
Well,
I'm going to buy them.
and now you try to price those things and they're astronomically priced.
I'd hate to even think about that.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw them on eBay. But do you have anything crazy like that, Sideburn, that you come across that you didn't know even existed and you're like, holy cow, I got to get that just because I just saw it?
Aside from the stuff I already said, not really. I mean, pretty much limit myself mostly to only transforming stuff. So, like, I know there's stuff out there like, and like Lio Convoy. There's Lio Convoy Blaster out there. The role play items like that. That I've learned about later in life. I think the most recent thing I can think of that was sort of like that, and I haven't pounced on anyone yet. They're not too terribly hard to find. Was I learned about the playset, the maximal ship playset for Beast Wars Second.
Oh, the recolor of the Andro base.
Yeah. I learned about that. I feel like it was like in the last 2 years I learned about that, and I was like, oh, I need to get this. But I haven't pounced on one yet.
Too.
Yeah.
It's they did some crazy stuff to that Andro ship to make it even better.
Yeah, and I just haven't jumped on one yet. But they're not too hard to find, so I'm not too worried about that. And there's just a lot of there's a lot of the decoys for Beast Wars and stuff like that. If you start digging into, like, especially the two Japanese series, you start finding a lot of weird stuff that was just just on just weird stuff made.
Yeah, like the Kabaya kits.
Yeah.
I put in the chat we were talking about Minerva earlier. There's a Minerva on eBay. If you just wanted to show the audience on just what I'm talking about as far as
that's you guys got 10
that
grand laying
is
around. Go ahead.
it's 8,000 Canadian or $5,800 US. And that's probably one of the prettiest boxes I have seen in a very long time. But
$37
again,
shipping too. For that,
yeah,
you'd think you get it for free shipping.
plus tariff, plus whatever tariffs may be involved.
Yeah.
So it's like, and there's some damage. There's damage to it, but I'm saying that is what you're to get an actual Minerva. $8,000
Yeah.
Canadian, 6,000 US. That's where we're at now with these holy grails and with these things that we know they exist, but we didn't find out about them until after they kind of started going crazy.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like so many of these toys, it's like, did you even know it even existed at the time? And sometimes we didn't know it existed at the time unless we saw it on a peg or in a
Yeah.
catalog or, I don't know, saw it in a sales ad or maybe even a magazine back then. Because there hadn't
Or
been many.
or a catalog that came with the toys for other stuff like Hasbro used to do for Transformers, but you never saw them. Like I mentioned the Deluxe Insecticons. They were in the catalog. You couldn't find them.
Yeah. Same thing with Kenner. Like Kenner was big on like the stuff that they would release, and you wouldn't find it in the actual store. Like I think it was like the tail end of Kenner. They did this line called Mega Force. Basically, they were little tiny little die-cast vehicles and such that kind of rivaled Micro Machines, but they
Yeah.
had these huge play bases. And if you guys haven't seen any of the reviews, I've done reviews of every single solitary one there is because I absolutely love Megaforce. Um, but there were some prototype ones that never made it out there. There was one that was going to be a battleship. And then they had this other base that kind of like turned into like almost like a Triforce type of thing. Never released. I never knew existed until I actually started doing some digging, and some of the stuff was actually in some of the very, 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 very late end Kenner books that they threw in with your toys. A perfect example of how I got hold of one of those books was in, I don't know if you remember this toy line, Don.
Oh yes, I remember
Building
vaguely, but I
blasters.
do. Yeah, I remember those.
This toy line is amazing, by the way, if nobody's actually played with them. But this, when I got this, was brand new, never opened. I opened it because obviously I'm going to play with these. And the catalog in it, it didn't have any of the newer stuff, but opening that catalog itself and actually seeing the stuff in there really kind of reminded me of some of the stuff that we don't see anymore. Cross sell stuff on the back of stuff is barely even used anymore, on top of
Yeah.
the fact that any prototype stuff we see on the back of those, it's like when you get the toy, it looks completely different, like you were saying. Colors are
Yeah,
just off. Like, what the
and
heck is going on here?
even nowadays, when we see stuff from Hasbro shown on their streams, what we get is not what we see. It's closer, but due to either bad photography, bad lighting, or actual, like the current Age of Extinction Studio Series Optimus Prime. It's a very nice figure, but in early pictures, the way the lighting is, it looks like the chest is silver.
Mm-hmm.
But when you buy the figure, it's Games Workshop gray.
Yep.
With very little paint on the robot mode. Most of it is going to the vehicle mode. Granted, it's a very good figure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the problem is you can't even trust the photography nowadays. Look at Masterpiece Ironhide. When Masterpiece Ironhide was first shown off, it looked terrible
Mm-hmm.
because it was mistransformed and the pictures were bad.
Yep.
In hand, it was a much better figure. It still has its flaws, but that's the trouble. You even if you learn about something after the fact, like I did with God Bomber. I saw the picture of God Bomber. several years after it came out in Japan.
Mhm.
Did not know what was in the catalog was not what was released. Buy it thinking I was getting this awesome looking God Bomber and getting
A bunch
God
of
Bomber.
parts.
Yeah. Yeah. So the cross sales are almost non existent. Early stuff is not accurate, badly lit, badly photographed. So the only way you're ever going to know about this stuff is to build a time machine, jump 20 years in the future, see what actually came out, and then come back and know whether to wait or not.
Hmm.
Because you can't trust some of this stuff nowadays because of budget concerns, paint concerns, distribution concerns right now. So it's literally, I hope this looks better than what these early pictures are saying because right now it don't look that good.
So that kind of being said, talking about like oddities, stuff that's hard to get a hold of, I'm going to bring up Monstructor. Um, since they have announced, they kind of teased that we might be getting a Monstructor soon. Do you guys think they're just going to use those core class Dinobots and just recolor that as Monstructor? Because it worked for Dino King. Why wouldn't they just do the same thing? Or do you
Thought it
think they're going to
was
completely wipe the slate and make a whole brand new one?
was it leaked? I thought it was leaked um for the like legacy or whatever the line is, right? Because they don't do core class anymore, right?
No.
That's kind of the. I mean, I guess they could release it as a pack.
Well, I mean, that's what they did with
Um,
Dino King. They released it as a full pack. So, do you think that's what they're
yeah,
going to do? Or do you think they're going to completely go back to
I
the
don't know.
drawing
I mean,
board and use a whole new set?
think a lot of people would be very mad. Um, because I don't know a lot of people who like that set. um,
I'm in a minority.
I feel like a lot of people liked it better as Dino King than they did, or than they did as the Dinobots, or whatever.
Volcanicus.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I feel like the lazy. I feel like I would put my money on the lazy route, which is that they reuse those. But I feel like the leak. Um, it was a pretty reliable leaker. Uh, I think. Um, hinted more towards it being something new. So we'll see.
So, what do you think, Don?
Uh, I don't know. It's just I don't know.
I mean, I know you want all new molds. I know that's probably what you want.
Yeah,
In
it's
reality, what do you think they're
the reality of the situation is with Hasbro in the shape it's in, a lot of this is going to come down to we're going to have to kind of take what we can get if we want them at all. Now, the upside is you finally get what you're looking for. The downside is with someone like Monstructor, do you really think they're going to go back and revisit it in a couple years and do it better? Probably not. Um, so I would like to see a third party make shells for the Dino King set that we got from Hasbro. But we have seen what shells cost when they try to do them for their who did the Dino King and Monstructor third party sets? I'm blanking on the company name.
Fans Toys? Was it Fans
No,
Toys?
Fans Project.
Fans Project, yeah. I thought it was
Fans
one of the
Project.
two.
Yeah, they went and did the Rotocast shells, which pretty much is what put them out of business because of the cost of doing those shells and stuff. So I'm not really sure I would buy a Monstructor because I have the Dino King and I got the DNA Design Upgrade Kit. That really improves the look of him and the one for Volcanicus. Um, but I don't know. I'm getting to a point where I am finally being mostly a lot more cognizant of like, do I really want this because it's something I need in my collection? Or am I getting this because it's new shiny dopamine hit?
Or is it the completest? Because
Yeah,
that's a big
yeah.
thing too.
Well, yeah, it's like I
It's
said
like
a
a
few weeks ago.
threefold thing, really.
Yeah, it's like I said a few weeks ago. We were talking about, our collections and stuff later on in our lives. Well, I'm there. I bought that War for Cybertron Thundercracker. I like the mold, but I mainly got it to complete the set with Starscream and Skywarp.
Mhm.
Because it bugs me more about not having a complete set of Seekers versus can I put that $35 Voyager price towards something else I like? I could. I didn't because I wanted the set.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm honestly, what I'm hoping is if they can't do new molds from Unstructor and they reuse those, I hope they decide to make some kind of shells for them. Make it like a exclusive crazy set that's got shells of some sort. I mean, even if they're just
Yeah,
clip-on parts to make it look more like the shells, I wouldn't even be against that. You
yeah.
know,
I
I
mean, they could always do something, kind of like what they did for the first wave of like the Siege, the Micromaster bases that were actually robots that transformed into their bases.
mhm,
So Ironworks was actually a transforming robot, not the Micromaster.
yep,
So if they made the beast modes of Monstructor look more like the outer shell versus the inner robots, they might could do that, and you kind of get you cut out that middle expenditure.
kind of like they
In
did
Beast,
with what was it, Ignis, Iguanus, and
you want
Bombshell, or Bombshell? No, the Pretender, the Bat one,
yeah, bomb burst,
the Bomb Burst. Yeah, what they did
bomb
with
burst, yeah.
those. If
So
they would
that
have went
way
on that
their
line, that'd be
their
better.
alt mode, yeah, their alt mode would look like their shell beast form, and then you have the robot mode. Neither one are going to be exact, but you could still get the shell look and have the roughly the inner robot. But again, you're going to have people on both sides saying, "Do one, do other, don't straddle the fence."
Hmm.
But sometimes straddling the fence is the only way we get this stuff.
Right. I mean, that was the big thing that I wanted to pull from, like, when the news side was that whole Instructor thing, to see what your guys' opinion is on this, because everybody's been clamoring for one. People were screaming about it during Combiner Wars. They could have easily done that probably out of somebody, but Road Caesar is also another one that hasn't gotten touched. Same thing with Landcross. So we're looking at least three combiners that are extremely hard to do. Still very hard to get hold of too for G1 collectors out there. Especially Monstructor with its GPS. You know, those are not easy to get hold of. And the fact that I didn't know Europe re-released Road Caesar without the combining parts to make whatever the heck that thing was. you know, um, but it's funny because there's so many different things and different levels of some of these toys we've collected throughout the years. We didn't know they did a recolor, renamed it, and how rare some of those are, whether we're actually going to see real new ones of them or not, or if it's just going to be a thing that just kind of just dwindles and disappears, you know, and much like GPS, it's pretty much what happens. But with Monstructor, yeah, I was very, very curious to see what you guys were thinking of that. I mean, considering I would think Sideburn will want a Monstructor because it's a bunch of creatures. It kind of fits in with the beastie thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty much I have rules to my collection,
Mm-hmm.
and the rules to my collection are it has to wear a maximal or Predacon symbol, or it has to be a homage to a Beast Wars character, or it has to be a repaint of a Beast Wars character. So that's kind of the rules I've set up for my collection to stop me from going too crazy. There was a time where I basically had said to an animal, and that's why I have a full set of the Age of Extinction Dinobots. But I have since then changed my collection habits.
I'm surprised
And
you didn't go Predaking and at least, Abominus.
well, I have Predakings. I have the reissue, or I have like the it was one of the year of the, or no, it was the what was it, premium? I think premium was what it was at the time. Reissue of the G1 Predaking, and I have I have the Combiner Wars or Power of the Primes Predaking. I do have those. Predaking is a little honorary in that regard because they are the Predacons, which is obviously the trademark, where the trademark came from that eventually became the Predacon faction. So I kind of give them like a little. They're part of my headcanon. They belong to Beast Wars, but
same thing with Seacons because of God Neptune, correct?
Yeah, I have a God Neptune. I have the Seacons. I'll probably because I got those sets. They were releasing the Seacons on Pulse like during it was like pandemic era, and so I like wasn't gonna buy them, and then people were getting them, and I decided to buy all of them, and then of course, they all come out, and then they announce God Neptune. I'm like, so I got God Neptune. So I'm probably gonna end up getting rid of the Seacons, but God Neptune's amazing. I love God.
Yeah. So would an exception for you be the Triptychon that just came out that Toy Hacks is doing a horn and a bunch of decals to make a Gigaswarm?
I feel like Gigastorm is inevitable, but it might not ever happen. It's one of those weird things. I feel like it's something that, tomorrow Takaro will be like, Gigastorm. I'd be like,
it's
what did I do all this stuff for?
Literally, the only mold thing they'd have to do is put a horn.
Yeah.
And I think they're letting Toy Hacks just take care of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have the original. I have one of the original Triptychons that I had to modify because I had the horrible, way too powerful springs in his legs. But I don't know. I hate stickers. I'm really bad at applying stickers, and I'm a perfectionist when it comes to stickers. So it's a bad combination. I already have like a few. I have like a few of the Lego Speed Champion cars that I don't look at them from certain angles because I mess the sticker up.
That's completely understandable.
Yeah.
When it comes to stickers, it's completely nuts. I mean, how often did we see Transformers that came out that had a different sticker sheet than what was actually advertised, or they changed something? That's happened a few times too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of nuts. Like, this fandom is such a rabbit hole of different weird, odd things that's happened, different odd changes that make something worth more than something else, just because of one thing. I'm sure Don's run across like, that's why that's more expensive because it comes with that. That one little thing changes the price tag astronomically because it was a tail end of the run thing.
I miss the days of like running color changes and stuff like that. Like you get so many weird things that it was like it wasn't even a new release. It was just like in the middle of the run they decided that Prowl wasn't black anymore. He was white. That's why there's a black Beast Wars or Transmetals 2 Prowl and a white Transmetals 2 Prowl.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like it was a weird store release. It was just at some point they decided to run it in different colors.
Yeah, I mean, we've
I
seen
have
that.
I have a bunch of those. Yeah, I have like the ivory Transmetal 2 Dinobot, and then the like yellow Transmetal 2 Dinobot, and then I have a pink Air Razor and the blue Air Razor. So,
Well, like
but
one of the
yeah.
biggest changes I can remember is in Generation 2, there's two of them. Grimlock, where he was turquoise, which is actually a misfire of color because he's supposed to be in the darker blue. That was just Hasbro saying just release them. Who cares? You know, we'll call it a running change. And they did the same thing with Sea Spray, except for Sea Spray had 3 different color variants. You got it's his normal blue, then you got the purple, and then you got the pink, which is kind of crazy. And those are just like, those are technically some people don't know about, just tiny little changes like that. I mean, I'm sure Don's run across a couple like that in his collecting. What's the craziest thing you've come across that was like a running change that nobody knew about, but that's what caused the price to like jump like stupid? I can see the wheels turning.
Honestly, though, seriously though, I really can't think of anything. I mean, the obvious thing are the transmetals because you had the Megatron colored Transmetal Optimus, and then you had the Optimus colored Transmetal Megatron. But that was that was like the G2 Grimlock. It was just the way the VAT Chrome was being done. You got color variances like that. I really can't. The only thing I can think of is the G2 Rotor Force. Some of them came with some of the rotor colors are different.
Mm-hmm.
In the earlier runs had a different color rotor than the later run. The black versus the red and the blue.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to think because I have seen in the past 2 of the same Rotor Force character, but the black version was priced higher despite being on similar packaging because of that less amount available.
Yeah, Ransack is probably the most common one I've seen that's like that. Still goes for an astronomical amount of money. But yeah, instead of having the kind of the orangish red propeller blades, he's got black ones that fire off. It's kind of crazy just thinking about that. Like, if you think about like just G1 running change, Ultra Magnus and Metroplex, plastic wheel versus rubber wheel. Those change how much money they actually are. Because some of them have more chrome than the others. Some didn't have any chrome at all. So
yeah, I'm going to have to tell you about this. I went to eBay while you were saying that, and I was looking up the Rotor Force to see if I saw an example. And the very first thing is a red Rotor Force propeller, $17.99. $400 shipping from Greece.
What?
Yes, $400 shipping from Greece at $17.99 for the figure. I mean, for just the propeller, just the propeller.
Guys, don't spend that kind of money. You can go
anywhere
and get that kind of thing. You can even get a friend of yours to 3D print some.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
don't do that.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be authentic from Greece.
That's okay. If you have that extra money, great.
Well, Greece is bad for you, so. But yeah, it's like, all the ones I see right now, it's like right here, there's a Ransack with the black propeller.
Mm-hmm.
Buy it now of $125. There's a Ransack right below it with the red propeller for $100.
Yep.
So I guess that would be the only thing I can think of right now.
Right. It's honestly, it's kind of like if you want to look at Devastator. Devastator's got so many different variants that were official. The ones that actually strike and actually cost more are the ones from Europe with the gray parts. That's yellow. That was not on G2 cards, but funny enough, was actually the one that was put together in the cards and the commercials shot back in the day. If you go back and look at it, it actually is. It's the gray bits on it. It's hilarious. I'm like, that doesn't even combine. It was a European one. It doesn't even come with the combiner bits. So there was even weird false advertising in that oddity itself. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, where did they get the combiner parts for that? Did they just send them a prototype that just had the bits, and then whoever was in Europe said, no, we're not going to actually have them combined? Like, somebody make sense of this one for us, please, because I don't even have the answer for that. Would you even know the answer, Don?
I don't. It's
I wonder if it was a toy safety thing.
could be, or it could be. See, it's like 4 of the Loudkaiser were sold in Europe without the other two, and Loudkaiser didn't need any parts to form other than the head that went on top of Leozak. So it could have been a cost saving manager since they weren't planning on doing the whole team. They didn't need the parts, or they thought, I don't know. There's so many reasons. I mean, it's sort of like back in the day when Sam's Club had Yellow Fire Convoy and the matching Ultra Magnus from Robots in Disguise.
Mm-hmm.
I found out talking to Hasbro many years ago at the design team, because I asked them, why do these toys look so horrible when they're combined, but they're both Sam's Club exclusives? And they told me it's being done by two different divisions of Hasbro. So they both were doing Transformers exclusives.
The old
they
Hasbro
picked
interns.
they picked the two molds, I guess, that was readily available to be rerun, but they didn't know the other team was doing it. That's why you've got Yellow Fire Convoy, and you've got an Ultra Magnus that's mostly unchanged, except the blues for the blacks. But if you combine those two, it looks absolutely
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those things were expensive now too, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
I got very lucky. 2 years ago, my wife and I were coming back from our vacation on a cruise ship. We were in Norfolk, Virginia, and there's a big toy store up there called Toy Meister, and just 2 stories. Absolutely anything you could look for, it's there. And I was looking through the Transformers before we headed back home, and they had a mint in box Sam's Yellow Fire Convoy. I had one open and loose that I bought back in the day, but I wanted one boxed. I got it for $125. That's the cheapest I have seen that in 20 years.
I just googled them, and like the first eBay link that it's suggesting to me are 2 sealed ones for $1,500.
Jeez.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Man, I kind of regret not getting those, but man, that was a weird time period. Literally, like that's where the Hasbro intern joke came from, was the Universe line with just all the wacky colors. I was unpacking my shelf down here is all my sort of repaints, and it's got a lot of the Universe repaints. It's got a lot of the like Beast Machines Dinobots are on there and stuff like that. and I was like, since they're giving us that razor claw, I want them so bad to give us Universe Primal,
Oh yeah.
and I want the Universe Silver Bolt, the Purple Bolt.
I mean,
And
I have to imagine that's on a short list
Yeah.
somehow.
then what was the other one? There was another figure that I know they've done recently. I was like, these three, there's no excuse for these not to exist now that they're. I'm surprised they haven't done Cryotech out of that
But the
Transmos 2
Megatron,
Megatron. I'm surprised they haven't. Nemesis Prime, being that they're doing a big convoy, but that'll probably be in the future. But yeah, like because there were so many weird things in that time period. The Sam's Club guy, and there was also a set apparently came out towards the end of Cybertron too that were not as wacky, but were also different colored.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
that, this
there were a
Judas.
lot of like, just because variants and stuff like that. I think honestly, we can probably end up doing an entire cast talking about variants here in the future, um, especially since I'm a Spy Changers guy. Um, you want to talk about Variant City? That's a really Variant City. But
oh wow, that's
Yeah, let me just pull out this book from Microns.
yeah, I know, right? I think we might end up doing that here in the future because variance is a very, very interesting topic to get into. But I think we're going to end up wrapping for the night. You guys have any final thoughts before we bounce?
yeah. I'll say this: if you go to a toy show, what I usually do is Saturday I look for the stuff that I am looking for that I can't find anywhere else. The known stuff, the holy grails, the just outs, things like that. Sunday, unless I need to look for those again, Sunday is the day when you start looking in all the nooks and the crannies and the boxes. Because that's where you find stuff that you do not know exist. And you may be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, especially if you're at a con that sometimes Sunday you'll have the guys come in that are trying to just offload collections and stuff like that, and they'll buy a Sunday table and just just boxes full of Ziploc bags of Transformers in it and stuff like
Oh, yeah.
that. That's I've dug through those tables before and found really cool things.
Yeah, so just if you just keep an open mind because you never know what you will find. Because a couple years ago, I was at Jolanta, which is now the Great American Toy Show, which works together with Jolanta. I found the Row gun, the GoBots cap gun, mint in box that included the smaller robot that became the scope. $20 at a table that I completely didn't even see it the day before because I was looking for other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was stuck in a corner, holding up some other boxes, and that's now downstairs. It's one of my favorite pieces of GoBots merchandise because it's just such an incredible looking piece and incredible box as well. So don't underestimate the nooks and crannies. The toy show is your English muffin. Check your nooks and crannies.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of that, I personally own one of those myself. It's my favorite GoBot gun ever. It's even got the little scope with the little thing you had to turn with the light on and everything. It's so cool. And then, not to mention, he's got the not Shockwave version.
Yeah. Well, this is my second one. I showed you the box one, didn't I?
Yes.
This is one I found 2 days after I got the box one for $45. Doesn't work, but it does convert. So now I can have one loose, and I have mine in the box. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, you want to talk about oddities?
Win-win.
Get into that stuff. That's the odd stuff. But I think that being said, we're going to go ahead and bounce. We will be here, same bad time, same bad channel. That's just how it works around here. Um, but if you guys have any comments or anything like that, throw them down there below. And any suggestions of anything you guys would like us to talk about and even bring up here in the future. But that being said, I'm going to have them say goodnight, and we're getting out of here.
Night, everybody.
Yeah, see y'all later.